Hi, welcome to Overthinking Entrepreneur. I'm Megan, and I've had a successful online business for a few years now, and I think I overthought probably about 90% of my decisions along the way. Honestly, I just overthought whether I should say 90% or pretty much every decision in this intro. So if you find that relatable, you are definitely in the right place. In this podcast, I will help you get out of overthinking and into action so that your online business can finally start growing. So I recently made the decision to double down on recommitting to my Facebook group, getting it back to amazing as it once was, growing it, making it a primary focus of my business again. And I thought that it might make a good episode for you to just kind of hear how my group got to where it is now, the realization that I had about it, the decision that I made, and what I'm planning to do about it. And I think this will help you if you have your own group, but I also think it'll help you even if you don't, because a lot of what I'm going to be talking about is not group specific. And so it can be applied to wherever this may have happened to you within your own business, whether that is a group or not. But if you do have a group, I think you'll probably also find this interesting, because I have noticed lately a lot of people are shutting down their groups. A lot of big name, successful people announcing that they're shutting down their Facebook group. And so I think it's kind of interesting to see that happening with them and then me making the total opposite decision. And so I just thought maybe you might enjoy hearing what I'm doing and why. So I have had my Facebook group. It is called Dynamite Entrepreneurs, so it fits in with all of my dinosaur branding. So if you are not in Dynamite Entrepreneurs, you should join. It really is a great group, and I'm about to tell you why it's not as great as it used to be, but also you can be part of helping us get back to where it once was. So I have had this group for 5 years now, over 5 years at this point, and I was really hesitant to start it in the beginning because I was like, do we really need another group? There are so many Facebook groups out there. And at the time, I was going live pretty much every day on my profile, and I was building my audience, and it was really great. And I was starting to think, like, maybe I need a group. Maybe I need a space that they can all come together. And maybe I need just, to really lean into this community. But again, I was scared. I had been part of a leadership team for a different coaches group. And I saw how kind of hard it was to maintain the members within that larger group. And I was like, I'm not going to have nearly as many people as this group in mind. Should I even bother? What's the point? But eventually I got out of my own way. And I decided that I wanted to try making my own group my own way. And I have not done a lot of the typical things that you might be told in order to grow the group. Or I shouldn't say I haven't done any of them, but pretty much everything that I do, I always do it in my own way. Like, I have grown my group using challenges, but I don't ever do a thing where, the more people you invite, the more points you earn, which is what many people do with challenges. Or, there's always been my own kind of unique way that I have been growing the group. And I've always been really focused on quality of people over quantity. Not that, anyone's welcome who wants to join, but it's never been my thing to say, like, hey, go invite all of your friends to come join this group so we can bulk up the numbers. That has never, first of all, that doesn't work. That actually backfires most of the time when people try and do that anyway. Yeah, you might get the numbers up, but in the long term, it makes it worse, not better. But I've really set out on my own path, and I've always been so protective of this group. And when I first started the group, I could hands down tell you it was my favorite place on Facebook. And I can still tell you that it's definitely one of my favorite places on Facebook. I think I can probably still say it's my favorite place, but I wouldn't be as confident going into like a lie detector test as I used to be. You could have given me one years ago and I'd been like, hands down, favorite place on Facebook. And I would not have been worried. Now I might be like, I'm not even sure if I think that anymore. I do. I still love the group. I don't want it to sound like the group has just like completely gone to crap, because it has not. I have still continued showing up there. I have taken some breaks, but I've still been there. We've still had some members. We still have many of the founding members who've been there this entire 5 years that are still very active in the community. And I'm so grateful for that. But I also just feel like I need to acknowledge that it's not quite what it used to be anymore. And part of what made me think of this, I was thinking about the t-shirts, the Dynamite Entrepreneurs merch that I created, and how it hasn't been the biggest seller, which is fine. I never expected it to be like a huge seller when I created it. That doesn't bother me at all. But I was thinking about the fact that, 4 or 5 years ago, if I had put out that merch, I think it would have sold a lot better, and I would have seen people wearing them all the time in their social media posts. I would have seen people wearing their shirts. And I was just kind of reflecting on, I wonder if that's the economy, or I wonder, and I realized it's like, I don't think people are as excited to be members of the group as they once were. the people that have still been there and are still active still love the group. Again, I'm not trying to say that the group like sucks now. It doesn't. It's still better than most Facebook groups out there. But at one point in time, people were so passionate about being part of the Dino community, and it felt like it really was my inner circle, and I was so excited to show up there, and I was doing a lot of my best content there, and I was so excited to go live and so excited about all the ideas and all the things that I wanted to help the people in the group with. And they loved it just as much in return. You know, not everyone, but the members that were there that really loved it, they really loved it. And they would tell all their friends, and they were so engaged, and it was just this incredible space, and people were like buying all this dino stuff, and they were like, I don't even like dinos, but I love this group so much that now I like dinos. You know, it was really fun. And, you know, over time, that has slowed down a little bit. Now, of course, with the nature of what I do, especially because I tend to work with beginners and people that are kind of just getting started with their business, many of those people that were here in the beginning don't even have an online business anymore. You know, that's the one tricky part when you build an audience of people who are beginners just starting a business. A lot of them won't even stick around and have a business a few years from now. So, you know, I always have to be continuing to meet new people because you never quite know. Or, you know, maybe you outgrow me, and that's awesome too. And so, you know, some of that would happen naturally where things were starting to slow down a little bit. And then Facebook got tougher. Notifications stopped being as reliable. I had built a lot of things with my live videos, and people weren't getting notified that I was live anymore. And then they started not showing up in their news feed. And you guys know how it is if you're in any Facebook groups where a lot of times you don't see the posts, or you don't see them in a timely fashion, at least the way that you used to. And I was really frustrated by this. I didn't let it break my spirit, but I was frustrated because Facebook straight up came out and told us, you know, sometimes we try and guess what Facebook wants or what they mean, and we just guess wrong, and that's okay. But they literally said groups are the future. We are focused on groups. We know that is the future of Facebook. Now, this was a few years ago. That's probably 3 years ago or something. And so I was like, great, I'm going to double down on my group even more. And I'm still a little bit confused. I mean, maybe they explained it badly. Maybe they thought that was where they were headed and they changed their mind. I truly don't know. But that has not been my experience or the experience of really any group owner that I know. Once they made the announcement that focus on your groups, that's where we're going. You know, do you guys remember even when they were saying they were threatening to take away the newsfeed? There wouldn't be a newsfeed anymore. And people were freaking out. And I was like, I don't think they're really going to take away the newsfeed. And here we are. We still have the newsfeed, right? But anyway, group reach and just the way that the algorithm worked concerning groups got tremendously worse shortly after they told us all to focus on groups. And so I was like, this is really frustrating. Like, why would you tell us to focus on this and then make it harder? But good old Facebook anyway. But so I was already experiencing some of that where the things that I was doing weren't getting the same response as before because of the algorithm. And that started to feel a little bit frustrating. But I was still there. I was still showing up. You know, I still loved the group. And I still love the group to this day. I'm probably going to keep reiterating that because I just don't want anyone to think that, like, I'm trying to say that I'm not happy with the group. I just know that it can be better. So then I got pregnant. And I also started, well, even before then, my business was expanding. I started a paid membership group. So I had my profile, and then I had my free group, and then I had my paid membership group, The Squad, which is still going strong today. And then I was launching all of these other things outside of it. And then I was hired by a direct sales company to run a group for them and teach social media to their field. And my own group started to fall down my priority list a little bit, the free content, because I had so many other paid things that needed my attention. And at first I was juggling it just fine. But then when I got pregnant, and I really did not enjoy pregnancy, so it was hard for me to maintain while I was pregnant. And then I took a few months off when the baby was born. It was over the summer. We really lucked out there. He was born in June. So I knew that was kind of a slow time for groups anyway, but I didn't want to just totally take it off. So my community manager stepped up. She did some posting. I think some other people stepped up. I'm trying to remember what all we even did. That was such a blur of a time for me. Like those first few months when your baby's a newborn, I'm like, what even happened then? Who knows? But but people stepped up. I think she did a book study. Is that right? Yeah, I think she did a book study, which was great. And we kept the group going. And then when I tried to come back, it was still really hard, and the group was kind of lower on my priority list than my other things because I had to prioritize my paid stuff first, the people that had paid to work with me versus a free group. That's just where my energy needed to go. And I still stand by that decision. I'm not saying that I messed up there. I do still think that, you know, the people that have paid for help need to be higher in the priority list than the free group. But it's kind of just between sliding further and further down my priority list. And then, because I wasn't showing up as consistently, people were seeing it less and less in their feed. And it just kind of, created a loop with each other where when I did try and show up in there, it didn't go over as well as it used to, which did not motivate me to want to keep showing up in the group because I felt like I was getting a better response elsewhere and that felt like a better use of my time. And then the algorithm continued to be frustrating for groups. And so over time, it is still a place that I love. It is still, I think, one of the best business groups on Facebook, but it's not the absolute thriving, supporting community that I would say it was years ago. I would still call it an awesome, supportive community, but I might take out the word thriving. Maybe that's where I draw the line, right? I think that we are still a great community, and I'm still so grateful for everyone that's there. And I have continued showing up for the group, but it's not what it once was. And I was just kind of doing some reflecting on that and thinking about it. And I was kind of asking myself, why do I think that is? Do I think it's Facebook? Do I think it's people have changed? Do I think, just kind of going through the list with my own self. And yes, I do think it's all of those things. I think it's, that I made the right call when I had less time and that it was already getting harder to reach group members with the way that the algorithm is. And then I don't regret anything that I did. But when I look back and when I really truly think about how I used to show up in this group versus how I show up now, it's no wonder that it's not the same as it used to be because it all starts with me. It all starts with the leader. Whoever is leading this space, everything kind of trickles down from them. And so if I used to be at 100% excitement for my group, but now I'm at 50 and I'm wondering why you guys aren't at 100 when I'm only at 50, of course you're not going to be more excited about my group than I am, right? Some of you could be. I mean, I'm sure there's some examples of times where that can happen, but I let myself, and it happens slowly over time. And that's part of why I wanted to talk about this is because I bet you have at least one thing in your business where this has happened to you as well. And you may or may not realize it yet. And so if you realize it, awesome. We'll get to what I'm doing about it in a minute here. But if you possibly haven't even realized it yet, I want you to ask yourself, is there any part of your business that you used to be so excited to do? And now it just kind of feels like you're going through the motions and checking the box on your to-do list. Because that's what happened with my group. I used to be so excited, so inspired. I used to want my members to get the absolute best of me. Now, once I started the squad, I did want to make sure that, my paid membership people got my number one. But my number two was always my free group. And even then, it was still a struggle to because I loved my free group so much. And I had to make sure that I was, finding that right balance of what goes where. And I can't say that today. I allowed myself to become spread so thin. And again, I am not trying to beat myself up or say, oh, I've messed up so badly. I can look back and I still stand by most of the decisions that I made, like I told you. But when I had less time and I had less creative energy and had to decide where I was going to put my priorities, I decided that maybe the group could go further down the list because I thought that, I bring in more sales for my profile. I have more networking there. I've been focused on my email list. I allowed myself to think, I think that this group, I'm never going to close it and I'm never going to stop caring about it. But I also think maybe it can slide down my priority list. And when I was really just thinking to myself, it was just one of those moments where I just really thought back on the entirety of my business and the group itself and how it got to where it is now. And I sort of had that realization that I think I've allowed other people's negativity to get in my heads too. Now, I do agree for myself, I've seen it with my own two eyes, that yes, it is harder for people to see the group on their newsfeed these days than it used to be, in general. But I also know that there are groups that I'm a part of that are all over my newsfeed, and it's because I'm active in those groups and because I'm consuming the content in there and I'm looking forward to it. And, I intentionally visit the group sometimes if there's something I'm wanting to see. And I think I let it get in my head with so many people talking about how groups are so frustrating. And I would join groups from these people that I perceived to be more successful than me, and their group was just kind of a ghost town and hardly anything was happening. And I was seeing more and more people complain about groups. And then there are so many groups. We all get group fatigue. Maybe not all of us, but a lot of us get group fatigue of like another group. There's so many groups. Like, I don't want to be in any more Facebook groups. And so I think I let all of that kind of get into the back of my mind and influence my decision that my group shouldn't be as much of a priority. But when I really think about my personal business, that group has been hands down one of the best, most valuable things that I've ever put my effort into. So much of my audience has come to me through that group. So many people have gotten to know me through that group. So many people have decided to stick around. So many wins, just so many good things have come into my own business because of that group. And I think I was just like, between having less time, having it not quite work like it used to right now, and just other people's negativity and complaining and telling me, that's dead, you got to get on TikTok now or whatever, that I just kind of all let it fall to the side. And it got to the point where I wasn't as inspired, and I would sometimes be struggling with what to even post about in the group because I wasn't as excited about it. And I think what happened is that I wasn't clear anymore on the purpose of my group. It was there because it was there, and I still wanted it to be there, and I knew I didn't want to let it go, but I didn't really stop to think about what purpose does this group serve in my business now, and what do I want it to do, and what do I want to be doing in here. I just sort of fell into unintentionally it being what it is right now. And I haven't been going live in there, even though I know that my live videos in there are one of the biggest reasons why people like it and why they plug in. I stopped doing challenges for a while. Now I did at least bring those back, and I'm planning to step those up even more. Just really starting to think about like, okay, I've been the problem here. Facebook has been the problem too, but I've been the biggest part of the problem because I have not been giving this my all, but I'm expecting it to still give me the results like I'm giving it my all. And so if there's anything like that in your business where you used to feel so inspired and so passionate, and now you're just really not giving it your best anymore, and then you're feeling discouraged by the lack of results that you're getting from it, I want you to just really think about how can you step back into giving it your all. Or sometimes it's time to let it go. There's, that is a totally valid decision sometimes too. But if it's something that you're not wanting to let go, you have to make that decision to recommit and give it your all again, if you want it to bring you the results like it was when you were bringing it your all. And I think in the beginning of a group, it's new, you have all these ideas, everything feels fresh, and people are seeing it and they're engaging and you're so excited. And then over time, it's easier to fall off. And that can be true. Maybe it's not your group. Maybe it's your stories that you used to absolutely love doing and you posted a few times a day, and now you're like, yeah, whatever. I'll snap a quick picture of my dog, I guess. Good enough. Or maybe your emails you used to love, and now you just kind of like slap something together. You go into ChatGPT and say, write me an email, whatever, good enough, and you send it out, right? And I get it. I get why this can happen when it's kind of that negative feedback loop of like, okay, well, I tried. Maybe you say, okay, I should try, and you try, but then you don't get the response you wanted. And so then it just reinforces, yep, I knew that wasn't worth it, right? Like if I go into my group and say, okay, I'm going to go live today, and I'm expecting to have a ton of live viewers, and then that doesn't happen, and I say, well, I knew that wasn't worth it. Yep, I should set that to the side. But that's the wrong way of looking at it. This group needs some love. It's not like you just show up and make one good post or one, if it's your email list, it's not like you're going to send one amazing email and everything's miraculously better. People stopped engaging. They stopped paying attention over time because the quality of the content was not as good. It was not serving them as much as it used to be. So if there's anything like this for you, you need to kind of sit down and decide do I want to let this go, or do I really want to double down, and do I want to fix it? And that all starts with acknowledging your role in what happened. And I'm not trying to blame you or make you feel bad or saying that, there aren't any outside forces to blame here. There probably are, depending on what's going on with you, even things like algorithms being different. But I'm also a large part of the problem because I have allowed myself to become uninspired and unclear on what I'm doing in this group. And so I kind of stopped, and I did not seriously consider closing down the group. I won't ever say never, but I have absolutely no intentions of closing down that group anytime soon. I love that group, and even if nothing changed, even if it kept going at the same pace that it's at right now, I still love that group and wouldn't want it to go anywhere. So for me, this wasn't a hard decision. There are other things in my business that it might be a harder decision to decide if I want to let go of them or not, but my group, that wasn't a hard one for me. I knew that I wanted to keep my group. What it really came down to was, do I want to keep coasting like this and just let it be, good enough? Or do I want to recommit to making this my favorite place on Facebook again? And when I had that thought of recommitting and having this group be as amazing as it once was, I felt so excited. And I was like, okay, that's it. That's it. That's what I need to do. Decision made. I'm not going to overthink this. I'm just going to try and give this my all and see what happens. So the first thing that I did was own up to it. I posted in my group. I posted at like the worst time of day. It was like 4 p.m. on a Saturday in July, like a terrible time. But it got decent reach. I mean, nothing like insane, but it still got decent reach even being at such a bad time, because it was a pretty honest and vulnerable post. And I just talked to them about basically what I just told you. I realized that this group has fallen down my priority list, and I'm not showing up and giving it the love that I think that it deserves anymore. And I'm going to change that. I want to recommit. And here's the thing. I did not show up in my group and say, hey, Facebook sucks now, and so do you guys. Why don't you engage with me anymore? Like, let's make this group better. So I need you guys to do more. No, I put it all on me. I took the ownership, because at the end of the day, I need to have a group worth engaging in if I want people to engage. And people have been engaging. It's not like I get crickets in my group. People do engage. If you've been around engaging this whole time, thank you so much. But I know that we could have more. I know that we could have a bigger, thriving community like we once had. But it all starts with me leading from the front there. So that was part of what I did as a leader. Was I did not try and blame anyone else. I did not try and make excuses. I called out. And I was honest, and I owned up to what was going on and my role in it. And I did not do this in a negative way. I did not do this in a sympathy-seeking way, because that can be easy to do, right? Oh, things have been so hard in my group, and I'm so like, my goal here was not for anyone to reassure me. My goal was for them to read it and get excited and say, oh, what's coming here? Okay, I need to be paying more attention to this group, I think. Like, that was what I wanted them to feel, my sincerity and my owning up to what happened, but also my fire to fix it and to get this group to be something that I'm super, super excited about again. So that was my step number one. Depending on what's going on with you, you may or may not have to do this, but I think it's almost always a good idea, especially if, I think, to just acknowledge. I think it's weird when you've like been kind of half showing up and then all of a sudden you go all gung-ho again, but you never made a mention of anything changing. Like, that kind of is weird to me and to other people. So I think just owning up to what's happened is a good first step to just get everyone on the same page and feel like you're starting fresh with no weirdness lingering anywhere. You've acknowledged it, you've owned up to it, and now people know that things are changing. This also helps people pay attention a little bit more. So if you make a post saying, I realized I've been totally neglecting my email list, or I've been totally slacking on my live videos, people are more open. Like, if you did not make that sort of announcement and instead you just started writing better emails or doing better videos, people may or may not notice because they've already stopped opening your emails or stopped watching your videos. So I think that can also just be a practical step to help people start checking things out faster, the changes that you're making. And then I started brainstorming, what do I want to do in the group again? And honestly, I'm still in the brainstorming phase. I thought about delaying this episode until I felt like I was done, but I thought it would be better for you to just kind of go on this journey with me. So I'll probably do an update in a few months about what has changed in my Facebook group, and, a little debrief about what I changed and how it went and what I would do different. I'll try and remember to give you guys an update on that. But I'm still brainstorming right now because I don't want to rush into it. I think that can be another mistake, is realizing that something has gone wrong and having that desire to fix it, and then, okay, I need to decide, thinking that it all needs to be in that very first post. In that post, I did not tell them what changes I would be making. All I told them was that I'm going to be making changes. And that gives me the space to think about what I really want them to be. Because what you don't want to do is rush into one new idea and find that doesn't stick either, or rush into too ambitious of a plan that you can't stick to realistically. And so what I'm going to do is not try and change everything overnight, because I don't think that's going to work for me or the group. What I'm going to do is take my time, really think about what I love doing in the group and what do I feel is missing. And I'm also going to have conversations with my group members, whether those are individual with people, whether those are posts that I make in the group, whether that's me going live and, talking to people while I'm live. I'm going to get feedback from the members and see what did they love about the group and what do they want to see more of, so that this can feel collaborative and we can start to rebuild this community together back to its former glory. So I know I'm going to be doing more live videos, because I know that was one of the initial things that grew the group in the first place, and something that people have always really loved about the group. So I know I'll be doing that. I think I might be doing some more little challenges and things like that. And then for now, I thought it could be fun, and also to just kind of, incentivize / bribe people a little bit to help make this faster. I'm going to be doing some fun little weekly challenges or giveaways for credits in my shop. So if you are in the group and you happen to be listening to this while it just came out, check out the group and check each week, because I'm going to be doing some fun little giveaway things. This week's, if you go into the group and you introduce yourself or reintroduce yourself if you've introduced yourself in the past, and you use the hashtag Dino Intro so that I can find it, because I don't want to be trying to scroll through the group. So if you use the same hashtag, I can find them all easier that way and get everyone entered. Everyone who does that between now and Thursday is going to be entered to win a $10 credit in my shop. So that's something else that I'm doing just to kind of incentivize and encourage activity in the beginning here while I work to build things up in the group. So I will be back with an update once I've gotten more done and more changes and let you know how those are going. But I just wanted to kind of share with you the realization that I made, because I'm sure I can't be the only one. I'm sure a lot of you have, whether it's your group or whether it's something totally different, I'm sure you have something that you were once completely in love with and so inspired and so excited, and now it's kind of become that box you have to check on your to-do list, and you're going through the motions, but you're not as excited about it. And if you could get back to that excitement again and that determination to make it happen like you had in the beginning, people would respond similarly. It's not going to be an overnight. It's not going to be a switch of a flip of a switch. There we go. I knew that wasn't right as it was coming out of my mouth, but I couldn't seem to fix it. It's not going to be that instant switch, but it will start to happen over time if you make it so. But you have to take that ownership and say, I'm determined to make this happen. And I know the first few times, like let's use going live for an example. I know the first few times I go live, it's not going to instantly be better, but I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to let that discourage me. And you have to kind of set your mindset from the beginning, because this might be an uphill battle with my group. I don't really know how this is going to go. I'm hoping that it goes pretty smoothly and that I don't feel like it's too difficult to build it back to, I feel like, what it once was. But I honestly don't know. But I'm not going to let that discourage me, because I know what's on the other side. I know that the outcome that I'm working towards is worth it and something that I want. And so I'm just going to, put on my work boots or whatever you want to say and get to work. And I'm not going to be scared of the hard work. And I'm going to recognize that it's going to have ups and downs and it's going to take time, but it's going to be worth it. And whatever that thing is for you, it would be worth it for you too. I hope this episode inspires you to go take action on something you have been overthinking. As much as I wish you could, you cannot think your way to success, so promise me you're going to go take some action today. Head over to overthinkingentrepreneur.com to find all the cool stuff I've made for you over the years, like my free guide to getting more social media engagement and my Facebook group, Dynamite Entrepreneurs, which has a free course on social media basics.